Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another video on Conqueror's Blade. So today, Ironcap Swordsmen. Kind of an interesting unit, if we can find them, which maybe we can't. Getting far too many units in my barracks now. 63. There they are, Ironcap Swords. So these are a 2-star unit. Don't worry, I just got the Halloween unit attire on. Actually, let's just take that off. Slightly less confusing. So yeah, a really interesting unit for a 2-star unit, one of the lower units, and certainly one of the units that I think gets kind of recommended, you know, along with, okay, it's not comparable to Pipe Militia, but as a beginning unit, I think it's quite a nice unit. It's really heavily charge orientated, and I think you can do fairly well for the leadership cost that it has, you know, at only 150 leadership. It's quite a nice unit. Obviously very cheap to maintain. You know what? Oh, I actually don't. I've already owned the kits, but they're going to be, you know, under 1,000 a kit. And yeah, the unit does pretty well once you've got them maxed out. In terms of the veterancy line, these guys, for me at least, are all about the charge. That's what makes them such a good unit. So it's all about getting this charge increased charge damage, you know, increased charge damage, decreased defenses. It's all about the charge. So they're not charging stuns, etc., and there's another charge damage increase there. So they're not a particularly well armoured unit, in part because of the fact that you get all these defense reductions as you go down the veterancy line, but it does mean they have this really high charge damage, which is all about blunt, which is why I'm running the 2 blunt doctrines to try and just nudge that charge up that little bit more. I'm also just running, because I actually had a few of them spare, reduced range damage, so they take a little bit less range fire. They've not got a tremendous amount of health at 7,600. And, you know, only 330 piercing defense, so archers take them down pretty fast, so it all sort of helps keep them alive a little bit longer till they reach the target. And the extra block, I'm not sure it really adds a great deal, but better than a poke in the eye. And of course the piercing defense doctrine, just to try and get them at least into the 300s on the piercing defense, otherwise they're really quite horrible. So once they actually get into hand-to-hand combat, I find they're a bit of a disappointing unit. I don't think they really perform very well. They kind of get overwhelmed pretty quickly, and there are much better performing units that can beat them quite easily. You know, if you run into a unit of condos or something with them, you'll just get absolutely butchered. If you run into prefecture guards, anything like that, you're going to end up losing. But it's all about that charge, that initial charge impact. If you can charge into the back of a unit, particularly if you can charge into heroes, then it kills heroes really quite quickly. They're super effective in that sort of capacity. And that's why I've been quite enjoying, particularly with them all, I sort of try and grab someone, carry them over a little bit, set this unit off charging, and then drop them in the path of this unit charge. And it's almost guaranteed kill, as we'll kind of see later on, because these units do so much blunt damage when they hit enemy heroes, as well as enemy units. So yeah, all about the charge. Super cool, short charge cooldown. If we can find it. Yeah, it doesn't actually tell me what the cooldown is, but it's like, you know, 12 seconds or something like that. Really short charge cooldown. So it's just all about charging, pulling out, and just cycling that charge. Anyway, let's actually hop into some gameplay now and kind of see how we've been getting on with these guys actually in battle. I've generally been finding that I don't really tend to live very long with these iron caps. They're a nice unit, but they are a bit fragile, and I tend to play them fairly aggressively, so they don't always seem to live very long for me. So quite a few short clips today. But one of my favourite things to do with them at the moment is to rush them down siege towers, because it's all that the charge damage is so high, and they're particularly effective against enemy heroes. And because enemy heroes, you know, everyone gets funneled into that narrow little route on a siege tower, I find it tends to work really well. So in this case, for example, charge down the tower, bop, first hero, bop, second hero, and straight into the archers. So it's a double hero kill, and we're on to the archers. So in that sort of situation, they end up working really nicely. I remember this is a 2-star unit. To get a double hero kill, I mean, that's quite a decent thing to do with such a unit that only costs 110 leadership. Then I was trying to get back up the siege tower before those condos were able to charge in, which we pretty well do. Unfortunately, some falconetti gunners open up on us and actually managed to claim a few kills before we can get back down and to the supply point. So, kind of highlights how they can work quite well in that charging capacity, particularly against heroes. I find them much more effective against enemy heroes than I do against units, by and large. And, you know, if you can charge the back of an enemy unit and get a good hit, then fine, they do quite well. But by and large, because they can, once they've hit an enemy unit, it doesn't really follow through. So that's why you can do an equivalent higher damage to an enemy hero. Or at least that's kind of been my experience so far. So anyway, so I'd thrown the unit back on the supply point, got them healed up. And I thought there was going to be a bit of a push through this gateway, which is kind of why I'm loitering down here, sort of thinking, is there going to be a bit of a push through here, something I can try and get sort of stuck into, because I'm trying to look for smaller fights generally. But then I notice, unfortunately, the A point's getting capped, and obviously I've got to go and try and help. And this is kind of where I fall down with these units, is when you're getting stuck into the larger scale stuff like this. So we get the charge in. Unfortunately, we don't quite hit this hero very neatly, so we don't really get much damage on him, but thankfully just get enough with the hero to get the kill on him. But then we get pushed by condos one way, I get shot by a musket, javelins at the back, and the unit just dies really quite quickly because it's just overwhelmed in that situation. Very similar initial starting situation on this one, because I'm again sort of trying to position my unit. I'm hunting for these hero kills. This longsword seemed a willing victim. Stood there, obviously just got flattened by the unit. It was half health already. But as soon as I've hit him, got the charge, I'm pulling the unit back up. I don't want them to go down the stairs and engage at the bottom. I know it's only some archers. Maybe we could have pushed into them, but it would cost us the unit to try and kill some low tier archers. So I'm happy to try to keep the hero killing. So then I'm sort of looking for my next opportunity. You know, obviously I will charge units if the opportunity is there, but I'm mostly looking for my hero kills, to be honest. That poor spear just got absolutely eviscerated by those Pavis. Stuck his head above the parapets for a little bit too long. So yes, I'm just sort of hunting for my target. What am I going for? I noticed this maul. Could have charged him, but he's already low health, so it was just a little bit of an easy hero kill, to be honest. So we just took him out. And then I'm sort of thinking, right, okay, still looking for my next target. Still trying to think of where I'm going to be wanting to go. I was kind of expecting some heroes to come over these ladders, and they start to oblige. And then because they back off into this corner, it gives me a nice opportunity to sort of funnel the units down there. And this poor maul, this is almost comical, that maul. Oh, he just gets absolutely flattened. It's just ridiculous. And the other guy, we basically get the kill. Effectively, he just gets forced off the edge. He loses a lot of his health to the charge. Yes, they work really well in that capacity. Again, for me, I use them for hero killing much more than I often do for unit killing. Although, as we see, I throw them back now on the supply point. And I'm kind of thinking, well, we've still not really lost much of the unit. You know, we've got a couple of hero kills, 2 or 3 hero kills. So let's get them healed up and let's find sort of our next opportunity. These condottieri go on an extremely long and perhaps slightly unnecessary charge without hitting anything. I go to charge into them, but I mean, to be honest, the amount of gunfire that I'm receiving from the thing, they're pretty much entirely dead by the time the unit gets there. The unit maybe gets 1 unit kill or something, so it doesn't really achieve a great deal. Then I'm thinking, okay, well, where am I going to go next? Where's going to be my next sort of opportunity? So I'm dragging the unit back down, trying to have a look. There's quite a few enemy heroes sort of fighting around this lower staircase here. So this is probably where they're going to be pushing out from. Maybe we can catch some as they come up the top of this staircase or something like that. Trying to sort of see where we want to go. Unit of spear sergeants down there, which seemed would be nice to be able to get into, but single-handedly I don't think it'd be great to charge in. But then I see we've got a unit of Iron Reapers coming. Okay, now it's a bit more interesting. And I wait for the Iron Reapers to activate their charge, I activate mine, we come in with some scries as well, and boom, we all get in and we all actually get some pretty big hits. You know, we maybe get 8 kills on the charge, not loads by any stretch of the imagination, but the Iron Reapers break the shields, and then we're effectively able to get in and finish off some of the enemy units to get a bit more extra damage in there. I'm able to push down the stairs and, you know, kill a full unit of Namkhans as well, along with the assistance of the other units. Would it work so well if the Iron Reapers were there? Probably not, no. But we were still able to get 8 kills against Spear Sergeants in a charge, so it's not too bad. And here is an interesting clip because we'll see what it's like against Iron Reapers. So a unit of Iron Reapers just come through the doorway, now a bit damaged, but the whole unit pretty much gets flattened by the charge. Unfortunately, I then get locked down by dual blades here in a unit of Pavis, and yeah, that ends about as well as you would expect, and I meet my maker. But the charge on this unit is really nice, and it works so well in these sort of capacities. And that's what really sums up the bulk of my experience with them. I think they're quite an underrated unit, or perhaps underrated isn't the right word, perhaps a unit that people don't tend to really fear or worry about on the battlefield. And that's perhaps why I think you can get away with getting a few more hero kills than you otherwise would, because people don't expect to be killed by them or get killed by when they charge at you. So I think in that sort of situation it works really kind of nicely. For 110 leadership, I think they're a pretty decent unit. And you do kind of have to get at the veterancy line a bit, because otherwise the charge damage isn't necessarily there at the start. But it does build up with that veterancy line, and it does become quite effective. So yeah, for a unit for newer players, I think it really works quite well. It kind of teaches you quite a little bit about sort of charge mechanics, charging in and out. I think it can be not the easiest unit to use compared to others, because you know, it is about cycling that charge. If you just use them in melee expecting them to perform well just with their swords, then they really don't work very well in that capacity. So that really kind of has been my experience with them so far. Certainly if I've got a gap in my unit pool, I have no sort of qualms about bringing this unit in as one to bring. Quite like this archer kill. It's also satisfying. Even if it's not all that good, it's satisfying. It's just quite fun to use. I could have just grabbed him and thrown him off the wall, but it's much more fun to hit him with a unit charge. And yeah, so that's pretty much my experience with them. Hopefully you've kind of enjoyed these videos. If you have, do let me know what you think about these Ironcaps, of course, in the comments down below. Have you had a different experience with them? Am I doing something wrong? For example, I was kind of using my halberdier sergeants completely incorrectly, so some of you corrected me on that, which was really helpful. So yeah, any other tips on these, anything I'm doing wrong, do let me know in the comments down below. And of course, subscribe to the channel for a load of more Conqueror's Blade content. Thanks for watching, guys, and I shall see you all on the next video.